Hello everyone, welcome to IMCC. Feel free to take a quick stretch, perhaps stretch to the right or the left or behind to just do a little wave to a fellow Sangha mate practicing with us tonight. Thank you everyone for coming out tonight. My name is Denise. I'm one of the 6 Dharma leaders here at IMCC. And I don't think I need to remind anyone that tomorrow is Thanksgiving. Congratulations to those of you who get a long weekend now. That'll be fun. And in 2 weeks, we'll have Hanukkah beginning. And December 23rd is Festivus. And then in 4 weeks from tomorrow, we have both Kwanzaa and Christmas. Quite a festive time of year. Usually, tonight we would have a Dharma talk on something based maybe around gratitude or loving kindness or generosity. But I'd like to talk about mindful confrontation, with hopes of keeping our holidays as happy and as joyous as possible, whether it's at the family dinner or at the Walmart parking lot. I've noticed already that the lines this week at the stores are longer and the traffic seems a bit heavier, although today wasn't too bad with people traveling. And I need to watch myself that my crankiness doesn't creep in and I don't become a Scrooge or a Grinch over the next several weeks. So conflict in our lives is inevitable. And most people, I believe, like me, don't particularly enjoy conflict, and even less so, confrontation. It can be very uncomfortable. There are some folks who actually enjoy it, okay? And they enjoy poking the bear like sport. They're good at it. And I need skills particularly for those people. I'd like to identify some roots of conflict, then explore why we might want to choose to confront a situation, and then share some ideas on how to apply mindful confrontation using several components of the Eightfold Path. First, I'm going to bring you just a little story from my inner mind. Sound. Nothing much has really happened other than hearing a sound. But instantaneously, my body has tensed and my mind is not happy. You see, my mind recognizes that sound. It's his footsteps. And the sound is getting closer. Oh, please don't be coming to talk to me. My energy field feels his energy field approaching, headed directly for me. I give myself a quick prep talk. Be wise, you can handle this, you have the tools. I try to remain calm and purposefully start slowing my breathing. And as quickly as I can, I scan Dharma crib sheets in my brain. The first noble truth, the truth of suffering happens. Yep, and I'm feeling some. Even though the person hasn't said a word to me, but we've got history. I recall the second noble truth. I have this suffering because I want something to be a certain way, and I don't want to let go. And I don't want to repeat that history. I don't want to deal with this person, and I have aversion to this situation. You know what I really want is to run. But I need to get on my boots, my big girl boots, and I need to not flee. I can handle this. This is not going to last forever. I'm picking up on his tone and his body language as we exchange greetings. I detect he wants to talk to me about some noodling thought in his mind that he wants me to do. I feel anxious and again like I want to vacate the premises. I remind myself of the third noble truth. If I just let go of what I want for a moment, maybe I can release some of this suffering. But I'm right. He wants me to do something I don't want to do, and has a litany of reasons why I should do things this way, his way, and is feeling pretty strongly about it. And I'm not thrilled with the request. Tap my forehead. This is what I do when I'm trying to focus. I quickly reflect on the fourth noble truth, the eightfold path, the way out of suffering. It is the perfect for situations just like this. I advise myself to get real with the truth of the moment and apply right effort. Yes, drum up some goodwill for right intention and commit to stick to the path that has helped me so many times before. I need to settle my ego defenses down. I advise myself to get real with the truth of the moment and apply effort. But it's so tempting to just let loose on this person and spew my negative emotions without a filter. Don't do that, Denise. Tamp down that desire. Remember, you have this life path to peace and ease. Breathe. Dig deep. You've got this. You can come up with a win-win solution. Okay, I've decided I'm going to take the high road, and I'm choosing to be honest and forthright and kind in speech. Man, this feels like forever, and it's only been 20 seconds. Thought creeps into my resolve. Forget this. Say something decent to him and run. Conflict is defined as a clash of opposing ideas and interests, a disagreement. When this happens to me, my body tightens, and a flood of ideas fills my head and clouds my mind. I desire to protect my interests and preferences, and I want to avoid things I don't like doing. With perceived threat, our sympathetic nervous system can get activated with fight, flight, or freeze in a response for survival or quality of life. The truth is, I'm going to have to deal with this situation one way or another eventually. Whether I deal with this person or I deal with the unresolved battle in my own mind. Unresolved conflict prevents peace and harmony. Thich Nhat Hanh, the renowned, generally considered to be, I believe, a Zen Buddhist monk, but there's also Theravadan overlay there, as I understand it. He says, when we cut off communication, we all suffer. So how can I communicate so I can suffer less? This is when I turn to the Eightfold Path, what I call my tool bag, the foundations for mindful confrontation and conflict resolution. And these tools are right view, right intention, right speech, action, livelihood, effort, mindfulness, and concentration. And we just finished a lovely series on the Eightfold Path, so hopefully it's fresh in everyone's mind. With the Eightfold Path, we avoid regret, because if we've done the above, what else could we have done better? Once we've acted, it's out of our hands. We can let go. Remember, we have no control over the other person's response. Trust whatever the outcome, we can come back to this Eightfold Path to help us handle any fallout. The definition of confrontation is to meet or face boldly. And benefit can come from confronting someone if it's an important issue or concern. The challenge is to choose whether or not it's beneficial to address this issue, and if so, how to do it skillfully. I think this can be scary. Hostilities could be unleashed, and someone might get hurt. But confrontation doesn't need to be scary or even an explosion of anger. To meet or face boldly doesn't mean you need to be up in someone else's grill. We can meet that person from a solid foundation, with courage and determination to choose the path of greatest harmony. Approach someone with good intention. The advantage of confronting someone is you might avoid the loss of a relationship or respect. Now I'd like to look at 4 specific factors of the Eightfold Path that can be particularly helpful for successful confrontation. Right view, right intention, right mindfulness, and right speech. Right view is to see reality clearly, to get to the truth. You see, for so long, I was so naive about the connection between my emotions and my reactions. I could go from provoking stimulus to response in a nanosecond. There would be no pause for a clue in, and I had no idea what even feelings were. Gordon Hinckley said, conflict grows out of ignorance and suspicion, and that's where I operated from. In Bhikkhu Bodhi's book, and his translation, In the Buddha's Words, the Buddha described the origin of conflict. What is it that makes ascetics fight with ascetics? It is Brahman because of the attachment to views, adherence to views, addiction to views, obsession with views, fixation with views, holding firmly to views that ascetics fight with ascetics. Now, this is actually a teaching on the second noble truth of clinging, which is the root of suffering. But you can see that if your views that you're clinging to are faulty, this is not going to bring harmony. It can actually be harmful. It behooves us to ask, is what I'm thinking true? Is it 100% true? And on what basis do I think this is 100% true? Even if my belief at the core of disagreement is true, which I'm sure all of ours will be tomorrow at the Thanksgiving dinner table, is it true that our belief, or my belief, can change someone else's view? Probably not. Or is it true that it is of vital importance for me to confront this person? I'm aware that not all of my views are 100% true. I'm just not always sure I know which ones yet. And you can see how I can get my dander up if someone challenges what I believe to be true, particularly if I think their view is harmful. Any engagement would be less successful if I'm clinging to a faulty view. My information may be correct, but I would have a faulty view if I think that it is good to give the other person a clue in just because my ego is being yanked. If safety and well-being are at stake, we should certainly try to inform the other person what we know, and then it's up to them what they're going to do with that information. Now, obviously, if it's a child, we can take a little more control in this situation, okay? Particularly if it's your child. Maybe you'd be a little careful with somebody else's, okay? If I'm trying to prove my point, it's not likely to be helpful for promoting peace. Can we look at an unpleasant situation in another way? Transformation comes from changing our relationship with what is going on. Dr. Lindsay Bridges, a few years back, spoke here on good communication, and she had some excellent tips on nonviolent communication. She reminded us we all have the same needs, but the strategies to meet those needs can differ and cause conflict. Folks might be familiar with Jefferson Fisher. He has a podcast out there, and it's on communication. And he says, don't argue with someone else's opinion. Instead, identify their need. And Marshall Rosenberg, who's the father of nonviolent confrontation training, teaches to seek internally. And I love this sentence of his. It gives me a bullet point for life. I feel blank because I need blank. I feel anxious because I need more time to get things done. But we also can look at the person we are trying to communicate with and say, you feel, and maybe you're thinking this and you can confirm this with them, you feel blank because you need blank. This person I was discussing this with appeared to feel anxious because he wanted to promote his project. Now, on to the end of the sentence, I've added a little bit more. And this comes from various different teachings, okay? I feel blank because I need blank because I believe blank. I feel anxious because I need more time because I believe I can't handle what is being asked of me. And reflecting back on the truth of the earlier scenario, I believed it was unnecessary work and energy burden to boot, and I feared this person would think less of me if I didn't do what he wanted. That would be clinging to ego. Now let's look at right intention. Buddhist monk Thanissaro Bhikkhu encourages us to engage in honest, responsible self-reflection. Is goodwill at the heart of our motivation? Mine is usually self-protection. If we don't want regret, we must do no harm to self or others. It is wise to detect any perception of threat to our underlying wants and needs. Clarity comes from defining the actual problem and knowing our true motivations. Does my participation pass the meta loving kindness test? Does this confrontation make myself and the other party feel safe from inner and outer harm? Will it positively affect both of our health, both mind and body? Does it bring myself and this other person peace and ease? Sometimes it doesn't, and maybe we should let go at that point. Or maybe we just muster on through with good intention and goodwill in order to try to come to a peaceful place. I would need to be super skilled and very wise, or maybe a sociopath without empathy, in order to be calm during a confrontation. But I'm hoping with continued practice I can get better at this. I can use the calming techniques that I've learned during my meditation sits. I can pause and focus on a breath and be aware of what I'm feeling in my body. Aware if I'm operating from a mind of hate or greed. Or maybe I might even have a hint of delusion like, I don't really know what I'm talking about here. Maybe I should stop bothering this other person with my ideas. Maybe sometimes I have delusion, I don't really know what's going on, but all I know is I've got a lot of fear. And try to bring as much ease to the body as possible during an event that is confrontational. If the outcome is likely to be beneficial, it's probably worth the temporary dis-ease. During this time, can we tap into compassion for ourselves and the other person, since none of us is 100% knowing? Now let's look at right mindfulness. Try to observe the situation with bare attention to know exactly what is going on. Keep breathing to calm any anxiety. And if it's not possible to be calm in this heated moment, kindly ask, can we discuss this later? And now I need to pause to understand this a bit better and waiting a bit so you have time to process, practice, and settle before going back and getting in touch with this other party to attempt some resolution. This is why it's so important for us to maintain our practice so that these skills become more intuitive, more automatic, and more reliable over time. And now for the biggie, right speech. And please here remember, I am the student, not the master. The Buddha tells us abstain from false, slanderous, and harsh speech and idle chatter, which is sometimes thought of as gossip, but it also can be chatter that's just not necessary. It's just more breath than what we need to be expelling. Thich Nhat Hanh reminds us our words can damage or destroy, and if they are not right speech. Just state the facts at the right time for the right reason. Be direct and clear, but kind. And what I'm saying really beneficial? And does it need to be said by me? And skillful listening also comes under right speech. We want to better understand the other party's point of view and intentions. It helps us to respect the other person's feelings and ideas. Thich Nhat Hanh says when we're listened to, we feel some relief right away. And if you're a super listener and a compassion guru, maybe you are listening to the other person just because you want to relieve their suffering. How's that for generosity and a holiday gift? We can also listen to not only the words, but tone and body language, so that we can minimize any miscommunication. It can be helpful to repeat back to the other person what you think you hear and ask if you're understanding it correctly. Try to speak calmly in a difficult situation. Rumi said, "Raise your words, not your voice. It is the rain that grows flowers, not thunder." And when we slow our speech and speak with a softer voice, that can help the other person to do the same. We can also consider just writing a letter. Maybe that's a better way to go about it, so that we have time to gather our thoughts and reread what we're communicating. And if it might be misunderstood or upsetting, maybe we can rewrite it. We want to write to avoid regret, so once you send the letter, you can let go of any desired outcome because you know you've done all you can according to your values. Thich Nhat Hanh said, once we speak, our thoughts are no longer our private possessions. He calls on us to be an editor. Well, that's what I wound up doing. I wrote him an email based in kindness, fairness, and truth. Then we spoke in person to further restore our relationship of caring. And then we both became enlightened. No, that didn't happen, but all was good and we were happy. So to summarize, how can we skillfully approach solving conflict in a way that minimizes harm and promotes harmony? Be aware of our beliefs and views. Be aware of our intentions and our motivations. Commit to right speech, and commit to goodwill for self and the other.